things like that. And then at the Clinton Global Initiative in 2007, we announced that we had over $300 million of total purse sizes already developed and ready for sponsorship. We've seen about $60 million of those prizes actually launched, and you'll soon see a lot more prizes like that. So yeah, the basic concept is that with prizes and awards, you achieve leverage, not only financial leverage, but you also achieve a great deal of activity, right? And the idea is the idea we're all familiar with when we watch American Idol or The Biggest Loser on TV, right? The benefit to the sponsor, the benefit to the players is that we don't just get to realize the innovation that occurs for the winner, you get a full range of solutions, and that we can all kind of sit back and appreciate this new activity and how it can bring new, non-trivial approaches to really important problems.
That's great. I want to call a really important sort of theme that's really happening here, just to make sure we bring it all together, because this is a very diverse panel. And the reality is what you're saying is each one individually has said that there's some economic or business component to engaging in philanthropy, whether with Jane's example of entrepreneurs that succeed, they give back to the community. So that's one methodology. Also with Noah, the concept of what he calls triangulation, which I have to keep thinking to pronounce it correctly, is a pretty good word for me. The concept of using business, charity, and celebrity to, again, encourage and foster philanthropy as well. So each person is coming at it differently, and then you have, in my opinion, which is a more elevated economic model, is using prize philanthropy. And I don't know, show of hands, who's heard of prize philanthropy here? So, it's not that many people, it's about maybe half the room or so. So each one incentivizing philanthropy through prizes, each one different in their own way, thinking about the idea that in order to encourage philanthropy, it's not just about what can you give me? What can you give me today? Are you another charity that just has their hand out, or are you thinking about things in a creative way? And so that's really the thrust of today's discussion, and we're going to talk more about that and delve into it, but I wanted you to hear from each of them because they're really very different, yet we're going to come to the same place, which is you have to think differently today than you did yesterday, especially with the changes in terms of the way that the technology is working. I think Noah said, well, it's taking things from a simplistic level, like his 7-year-old daughter saying, I want that. Can you just create a messaging system where people want what you have to give them in terms of the charity organization? So I guess the first sort of general question I want to address to the group is in terms of the direction that you think social media is going to play in philanthropy. And I kind of want to circle back with Jane and get your thoughts on how you think social media is going to impact philanthropy, and maybe even talk about a couple of specific examples of things that you've interacted with as well.
Sure. I mean, we've all seen, if you're on Twitter or even know about Twitter, you've seen, or watch the news, you've seen Twitter raise millions of dollars for Haiti. You know, when there's a disaster, people get on Twitter and it's, you know, text whatever the number is and you will donate $10 and it goes to the telephone company, and then there's all these issues about using credit cards because credit cards take fees, etc. Social media, I don't look at as a networking tool so much as it's just another way that we communicate. I actually don't really like the word networking. At NAWBO, so we actually help our business owners utilize social media in a way to communicate their value proposition as with their business to potential customers, to the general public. I've actually been able to raise money using Twitter. I've met some really great people. You know, because we're a small business and we're a minority business category as women. You know, I've found new sponsors, and I've probably raised in the area of social media, I don't know, in the past 6 months, maybe $25,000 just from meeting people, talking to them, offering something of value, and then they write me a check for a program, just kind of what you hope happens, right? But social media is interesting, especially with the millennial demographic. I think as coming into this year, it'll be the largest demographic in the world. And the millennials are very socially engaged in the area of philanthropy. They believe that their purpose here is on the planet is to do good, and they're often they will go work somewhere, or they won't work somewhere because of the company or corporation having a good social global platform. They will, there's a Cohen study from 2008, I believe, that said millennials will either purchase from or they will punish a brand, 89% of them, if the company or corporation doesn't have a good charitable cause or mission. So when you're talking about masses, and even if it's a donation of $1 or 10 cents, and you're targeting a certain demographic, particularly millennials, who will give, it's in their DNA to give, you're talking about really large amounts of dollars in donations and personal donations. So I think that all nonprofits, whatever your cause may be, targeting millennials, or I should say targeting, focusing on millennials and marketing to them is a really smart way to look at how you're going to be increasing your fundraising, even by drops in the bucket.
I think social media is actually, raising money through social media is actually, you're the exception if you do. When you look at the Pepsi Refresh program and the Chase Community Giving and all these sorts of things, there are a million of us who aren't raising that much money for everyone that is raising a lot of money that way. And I'll give you one example. We have a client who is a very famous celebrity with over 1 million Twitter followers and created a mechanism to raise a lot of money for their foundation. And it was a huge launch, blasted it out to all the Twitter followers. And after, we had a call center set up, getting ready to really start taking orders for what it is that they were doing. And after about 30 seconds into it, not a single response. About a week into it, not a single response. Over 1 million Twitter followers. And this was for something that was sort of an extreme experience where people could buy into this. And everyone was scratching their head saying, oh my gosh, this is a very well-known person, but no one's responding. And a lot of times the Twitter crowd is not necessarily the major donor crowd. And I'm saying this because I think Twitter, as Jane said, and many of these social media sort of tools are ways to communicate with people, but they do not replace the traditional major givers. They do not replace a lot of what exists right now. There are terrific ways to use it, but I think you need to start with the end. What is it we're trying to achieve? And then how can these tools help us do it? And where we've used social media and it's worked well is we've created campaigns in order to generate awareness. And it's been amazing how much awareness we've been able to get out of something when we've used those tools for what they're intended to be used for. As we all know, in fundraising, if you don't have a great need and urgency and combine the two, you're not going to be able to raise as much money. And so why did Haiti text campaign work so well? You had a great need, everybody really wanting to do something, not knowing what they could do, and a lot of urgency, and that combination really worked well. But like I said, it's the exception. My company produces a lot of events, and I'll tell you, as we do these events, a lot of times we really try to talk people out of doing them, because just like social media, they think, we got to do events, we got to do social media.
Right.
But think about what the objective is. The objective is to get in front of that major donor. It's to get in front of the person who's going to write the big check and get you what you want. But start at the end. Figure out what it is you're trying to achieve, and then figure out how social media can get you there. Because like I said, it's going to be spinning wheels for a lot of us in this room if we go out and try to compete against some of the large organizations that do it well. As I heard everybody being introduced today, there were maybe 5 of us in the room that should invest a lot of time and money into social media to raise a lot of money. All of us should have social media campaigns to raise awareness. But again, know what the tools are intended to be used for before you build these great expectations about what they can do for you.
So I've just returned to LA. I spent most of 2009 in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates. And what I was doing there is I was working for a company called Masdar, or the Abu Dhabi Future Energy Corporation. And we were creating what they hope to be the Nobel Prize of Renewable Energy and Sustainability. This is up to $2.5 million worth of awards for excellence, lifetime achievement in clean technology is basically what we were doing. And what we did through that campaign is we really kind of started with going out and building a platform on the internet which would allow anyone in the world to apply to win this prize, right? And then we developed